for you guys, and I'm not sorry, but I really want to give you guys the fundamental tools to take away that you can take with you and learn anything, and you can master absolutely anything with the tools that I'm going to talk about. So when I came back to Cutco, I was at 17 grand in career sales, and I literally had my back against the wall. I'm not exaggerating when I say that I had $5 to my name, and I had rent due in 2 weeks. Just picture that. And I said, Evan, like, I gotta make magic happen. Let's make a plan. Let's make something happen. I doubled my career sales in 2 months. That January, I decided to go for Silver Cup. Backtrack a little bit. That same week that I had $5 in my bank account, Evan Keller, my DVM, he asked me, he said, hey, have you ever had a mentor? And I was like, well, no, just Evan, like, I don't pay you, but, well, you know. I said, no, I've never had a mentor. Like, tell me what that is. And he's like, oh, my buddy Peter has a coaching program. I think you might be interested. It might be a lot of value for you. I was like, okay, sure. So we talked on the phone, and I was like, hey, Peter, like, sounds super awesome, but just to kind of let you know the position that I'm in, I'm not exaggerating when I say that I really do only have $5 to my name, and I'm growing into, like, getting out of that right now. And he said, okay, perfect. Like, it's a $1 trial period. And I was like, okay. So my question to you, I challenge you to ask you, how willing are you to learn? Are you willing to invest $1 into yourself when you only have 5? See, I've always had a really high willingness to learn, but my willingness to learn is constantly increasing. I'm constantly growing. So that same year, because I invested in myself to learn, I was then able to hire on mentors like John Berghoff, Hal Elrod, Peter Voogd, John Vroman, et cetera, all these people who I now have in my Rolodex, and all because I was willing to learn, because I believed in myself enough that I was worth it to learn what they had to teach me. And you guys have to understand, like, there's a lot of people in this room who have what you want. Yes?
Yeah.
So why are you waiting to get close to them? Why haven't you asked them the necessary questions? What is your willingness to learn? See, I knew that these people had exactly what I wanted. Eric Gilman, who's now my best friend, he was a top-performing CSP. And I would plug in as much as I could, and then I hired him as a mentor. And he had exactly what I wanted as far as results goes with Cutco and the lifestyle, all this stuff. When I came back to Cutco, and I was getting my FSM promotion, and I think it was like October, I was looking back in the room, and I saw all these CSPs like Matt Graves, TC, Eric, Brittany, all these people making 6 figures, and I was sitting here broke as a joke, thinking, like, how do these people live this lifestyle and sell knives? Like, I don't get it. It does not make any sense to me, but I'm gonna figure it out, and those are gonna be my friends. And I decided before I knew how it was gonna happen. And it wasn't weird, it happened pretty organically, we're really close. So that was cool. Now, there's a couple topics that I'm gonna talk to you about when it comes to the more you learn, the more that you earn. And what's great about this position, guys, is that you literally get paid to learn. Every time you make a sale, you're learning, yes? Yeah. So every time that you do appointments, the more that you crank out for push, the more that you're learning. You're learning what you could have done better. You're learning what your strengths are. You're learning how to maximize on your weaknesses. You're hopefully plugging in with your managers as often as possible to dig in and learn more. The more that you work, the more you make money, and the more that you learn at the same time. So it only makes sense to really jump into what's possible for you. But I'm here to give you some fundamental tools, and I'm going to challenge you with some ideas about how you're currently learning and processing information, how you've previously learned how to process information, and what you can do moving forward. Today, you can use this, so perfect timing for you to use this today and ask yourself, checking in, like, how teachable am I being right now? What am I willing to do to learn this stuff? What is it that I really want? What is my deep desire? You have to have a deep desire to be willing to learn. So here are the 3 things I'm going to go over today. How many? 3. How many? 3. Nice. Teachability index, maybe an unfamiliar term. I'm going to explain exactly what that means. Your most important goal. Now, I don't know a lot of you personally, but I know your most important goal, and I'm here to maximize on what your most important goal is. Number 3, the 4 steps to processing information. And that's going to help you recognize where you're currently at in your learning. Now, Teachability Index. How teachable are you? That's really what that means. I would like you to write down, if you have a piece of paper, how teachable am I? And I'm going to ask you to rate yourself from a 1 to a 10. How teachable am I? Now, there's a couple ways to rate yourself. These are some questions to ask yourself. Now, your teachability index comes down to 2 things. Your willingness to learn. 3 things. Your willingness to learn, your willingness to accept change, and your willingness to give up maybe your favorite thing. Is it worth it to you to learn this stuff? What is the one area of your business that for you is the most important area for you to master? And I encourage you to think about this on 2 different ends. Number 1, it could be what is something I'm naturally really good at. Let's say you're naturally really good at communicating. Let's say you're naturally really good at having confidence. Let's say you're naturally really good at some sort of area of the business. How can you be the master at it? There's a lot of things for me. The reason that I continually strive to learn, because I know that I don't know anything. I'm gonna say that again. I know that I don't know anything. I'm still getting it. I still am trying to understand. I know that there's more to learn. And the minute that you say I get it, your teachability index goes to a 0, because you're shutting the door and you get it. There's nothing more to learn. The more often that you say I understand, I get it, you shut that off. So I encourage you to maybe look at the way that you're looking at what you already know and what you could know, and how you approach different conversations when people are trying to teach you stuff. That makes sense. I'm getting it. Where I'm at right now in my business, I'm getting it. I'm understanding. It's growing. I'd also challenge you to think about your willingness to learn when it comes to what are you willing to invest in time, money, and energy. I'm not saying that you have to throw a ton of money at the wall to learn a bunch of stuff. No, that's not my point. My point is, what are you willing to invest in time, money, and energy? You're investing time, money, and energy by being here. Yes, that's great. Cheers to you. There's people that you know that could be here, but they are not. Your teachability index is higher than theirs is. And it could be higher. So just a perfect example of how your teachability index constantly goes up and down. It goes up and down when you're exhausted, you're not as teachable. When you're discouraged, you're not as teachable. When you're excited, you're probably super teachable. When you see what's possible, you're probably super teachable. And just to give you an idea, I would like to ask you, like, who is your mentor? Who is your mentor? And it doesn't have to be somebody that you pay. It doesn't have to be. Who has what you want? And who are you keeping right there, front row in your circle, locking arms with? Who knows what you're passionate about and who is equally invested into your goals as you are? Who is your mentor? And if you don't have one, think about somebody who has what you want. There's somebody right now that's coming to mind. Write that person's name down. Whether they're in the room or in the country, you can reach out to them. Everybody has 10 minutes. Right, to give their time. People reach out to me pretty often. Everybody has 10 minutes. I'm more than willing to spend 10 minutes with somebody to answer whatever questions they have. So if there's somebody out there that has what you want, have some cojones, reach out and say, hey, so-and-so, I really respect this and this about you. If you have 10 minutes of your time, I have 2 quick questions I would really love to dig in with you. Grow your circle of influence. What is your teachability index? Just to give you an idea, also in perspective, me investing that $1 with Peter, that was a self-paced online coaching program, and I would dedicate 3 hours every Sunday on that coaching program. And nothing else was going to happen in those 3 hours but me on my laptop at Starbucks. And that was the first time I really ever invested in myself, and it felt good that I was saying, hey, Sharissa, I believe in you, like to myself in the mirror. Hey, Sharissa, I believe in you enough that you're worth seeing what's possible for you. And I can say in the last 3.5 years with Cutco that I've been like full-time, I've probably invested maybe 35 grand in my personal development up until now. And I don't say that to just like throw you a big number, but just to give you an idea of how your willingness to learn and your teachability index goes up. And the more that you learn, the more that you earn. I'm probably gonna say that a lot, so it's like right here at the forefront of your mind. The more that you learn, the more that you earn. What are you willing to give up to learn this? So think about the most important area of your business. Think about some of the people you're gonna hear today. What are you willing to give up to learn this? Where is it in your schedule that you're actually gonna listen to these audios? Where is it in your schedule that you're actually gonna practice your scripts? Where is it in your schedule that you're gonna practice and master your craft? Now, as far as repetition goes, we all know, like the way that we learned our ABCs, right, was through repetition. And that's the way we learn everything, is through repetition. So how often are you plugging in? How often is that in your schedule? For me, personally, I was really inspired to do 1 day of personal development. And so for 1 full day out of the week, I'm studying, I'm learning, I'm mastering. Now, I know a lot of people who do these like read a book a week, 50 books in a year. Like I totally respect the commitment. I think that's incredible that you can do that. For me, something that's important that I've seen really vast results in with people is information mastery versus information overload. Are you trying to learn everything? Or are you trying to master one thing at a time? What is your next step? What is the one most important thing? If there was one most important thing, area of your business that you had to master, what is that one thing? Define what that is. Find out who's the best at it. Post it on FSM Magic. Post it on your branch or manager wall on Facebook. Who is the best at this thing? I need to reach out to that person and do it. I've done that so many times. I still do that. So just to kind of give you some action to take to really reach out of your comfort zone, because if you constantly are learning from, don't get me wrong, like we have an incredible support system in Vector, but it's so powerful for you to learn outside of the people that you're comfortable with, because there's so much that we don't know. And it's really exciting to know that there's a lot of possibility to learn. And your willingness to accept change. I'm gonna give you guys a really quick story. Try to be quick. So I was never a runner, and a couple years ago, my uncle challenged me and he asked me to run a race with him because it was going to be in San Diego. He lives in LA, he does a bunch of races, he's like super fit. And I wasn't super fit and I'd never been a runner. It would take me like 20 minutes to run a mile because I wasn't really running. I was just like doing this most of the time. And I would say that I had knee problems and he's like, Sharissa, like I'll buy your shoes, or he said, I'll loan you money for your shoes and do this race with me. All you gotta do is train. Like you can train your body to do anything. I was like, okay, fine. So long story short, I trained for the race. It was about 10.5 miles. It was a trail run race, so like in the mountains. And there was this one part that's called 1,000 steps. It's literally like this. And it's about 1,010 steps. And one thing he told me, he would constantly coach me over the phone like once a week. One thing he told me before the race, he said, Sharissa, when you're on that 1,000 steps, don't think about the 1,000 steps that's in front of you. Think about your next step. Now, for me to get to that point, even thinking back, like before I got to the point where I was at the race, it was like 2 months prior, while I was training, I was waking up at like 3:30, 4 in the morning to accomplish my miracle morning, get my run in. My life was changing. I was willing to change to get that result, to feel that pride of what it feels like to do something that I'm not comfortable doing. And I was learning so much in the process. How are you willing to change? Are you willing to change on a level of 1 to 10? Like how excited are you about maybe changing something in your life to get something that you don't have or get something that you're working towards? How willing are you to change? Your most important goal. Now this ties into what I was talking about with 1,000 steps. Your most important goal Now, like I said earlier, I don't know a lot of you personally, but I know what your most important goal is. Because your most important goal is the same as my most important goal. It's not the big picture at the end. It's not the number at the end of the year. Your most important goal is the next step that you need to follow in your process. I would write that down if I were you. My most important goal is my next step. That could be the next step in your learning. What is the next step in your learning? What are you going to do tonight? What are you going to do after the conference? What are you going to do tomorrow? What are you going to do next week? What is your next step? Now, I get a lot of people sometimes who ask me, and this could be looked at a couple different ways, like, oh, where are you at for the year? Where are you at for the campaign? Like, I don't know, bro. Like, I'm focused on today, like, and tomorrow, and this week. Like, I know that I'm on track because I have a plan, and I'm focused on this day because I know that this day matters than any other day. And my next step matters more than any other step. And as I was going up the 1,000 steps, I remember my uncle training me because this was 10.5 miles. I was never a runner. My knees were killing me. I felt like I was dying. That was like the first time in my life I ever really thought, like, if I were to die, like, it would be here. Like, I am hot. I am sweaty. Like, my knees are falling apart. I don't want to be here, but I'm so excited to finish. Like, I just want to be there. And he said, count, like, when it gets hard, when it gets challenging in your mind, everything is a mental game. Would you agree? Selling during push is a mental game. This life is a mental game. As you move forward in your life, it's a mental game. Challenges are going to come. How strong are you? What type of tools do you have mentally to get you through? So this is one of the tools that I use mentally to get me through. And these are the tools that I use to get me through my successes and my accomplishments and my challenges too. He said, when you're running, count 1, 2, 3, 4. Like, just count every 4 steps. Like, don't think about the next 20, 30 minutes. Don't think about the next 2, 3, 4, 5 miles. Think 1, 2, 3, 4, and just count every 1, 2, 3, 4. And that, you guys, was getting hard because I was like, I don't want to count to 4. I don't want to count to 4. I just want to count to 2. So then I started counting to 2. When I was at the 1,000 steps, I was like 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And one thing he told me, he said, don't look back and don't look forward. Look down at your feet and count 1, 2. The same way that I count 1, 2 in that race is the same way that I count 1, 2 to sell 17 grand in a week. And to have my biggest campaign ever so far. And to sell 190 grand my first full year selling Cutco. Because I count 1, 2. I'm not looking forward, I'm not looking back, I'm here now. So what was interesting, and this is really cool actually, I was feeling like I was behind because there were so many people ahead of me. And I knew there was a lot of people ahead of me even though I wasn't looking, but it had been like, I felt like I had been like an hour already up this mountain. It wasn't, I was like 10 minutes. But I was 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and I can't even explain the pain that I had. But I was like, screw it, I'm gonna look back. And I looked back and I was already like a quarter of the way up the mountain. And I looked back and there were so many people behind me. There were so many people behind me. I'm not a runner. I wasn't never a runner. There were so many people behind me. So that encouraged me to keep going. And so I kept going and I noticed that all these people that were running with me, like they looked like they knew what they were doing. And so I was just kind of like watching them, trying to copy them. And as I finished the finish line, I fell to the floor from exhaustion and pain. And my uncle said, go check, like, see if you're on the report. And I was like, report? Like, what report? He said, see if you, like, maybe have, like a place or something. Okay. And then I go, I was number 3. Like, what the heck? I was number 3. And he's like, number 3? I go, yeah, I suck. I was number 3. Like, that sucks. This is the hardest. I've never worked. That, for me, you guys, before coming to Cutco, was the hardest. That was the time, like, I invested so much energy and learning and how to do something. So I never worked so hard for anything else in my life than that race. I wanted to prove myself that I could do it. And he goes, that means I thought I was last out of like everybody because I was number 3. I don't know, I was delusional from the run. And he's like, that means you placed 3rd in your division, like in your age group, you placed 3rd in your age group. And I was like, I cried. I was in tears. Like, what? And that is when I had a huge quantum leap in my mind of what's possible when I really do try. And I believe that I can, even though I'm not a runner. Even though you think that you're not good at a certain thing, you can learn to be good at it. You can master that craft. You can reach out to people who are good at it and learn from them. That race changed my life. Changed my life forever. I am here today talking to you because of that race. So many leaps that we have. I'm sure you can look back at certain times in your life where you made leaps, and they all add up to why you're making leaps today. Your leaps keep growing. So I encourage you to be present in your steps. Your most important goal is your next step. Make a plan, focus on your next step. What does this week look like? What does tomorrow look like? Make that your most important goal. If you're making 20 phone calls, your most important goal is not to sell X amount. Your most important goal is that moment, to accomplish that moment, 20 calls. So be present in your journey. Now, I'm going to talk about 4 steps to processing information. Just a second. Now, these were, again, this stuff might not be super familiar to you guys. That's what that was. 4 steps to processing information. Unconscious competence, conscious competence, and unconscious competence. It's really kind of fun to say those words. And I had no idea what they meant when I first saw those, but I learned this before I came back to Cutco, and I can say that it has, like, understanding, having awareness to where I am at in my learning with this has helped me make vast changes, transformations, quantum leaps in my personal development and in my growth and the people that I'm able to influence. Unconscious competence. This is the first level of learning. You don't know what you don't know. If you're learning something new, you don't know what you don't know. When you do a demo for the first time, you don't know what you're doing, but you're doing it. And it also means that you know the information, but you consciously have to apply the information. So you might learn something today for the first time, and that's where you're at in your learning. You're at stage 1, which is a great place to be. It's the perfect place to be, to learn something new. So understand your awareness and where you're at with that. It's kind of like the first time that you drive to your friend's house 10 years ago, right? You looked at the map. Back in the day, we like put in MapQuest, right? Like you had that. And now you know how to get there. So that is actually at the end. That's unconscious competence. But conscious competence is knowing that you don't know. So not saying I get it, right? You don't get it, you're getting it. You don't really learn something completely. You're continually learning something. And I was really inspired. A couple months ago, we had an event in San Diego. I was really inspired by Josh Mueller. I walked into the room late, and there was somebody, I don't remember who was giving a talk that we had heard before. And Josh Mueller, amongst all these other CSPs, was the only one taking notes. Josh Mueller was the only one taking notes out of this, like, 15 CSPs. That's mind-blowing. I felt like poop. I'm like, where are my notes? I left them. I felt like crap. But it inspired me to think, like, what is my teachability index? Do I understand that I don't know? Or can I be a master student like Josh Mueller and understand that I still have more to learn? Conscious competence. You know what you don't know. Having awareness to what you haven't learned yet. Now, conscious competence is you know it, and it happens automatically. So how many of you know you can like just rolls off your tongue the referral approach? Okay, cool. So for those of you who didn't raise your hand, maybe you're at unconscious competence where you have to read it, right? Maybe you're at conscious competence. But understand that the only way to really master something is understanding where you're at and you're learning with it. So when you know it, it happens automatically, and that's unconscious competence. That's when your referral approach just rolls off your tongue. Your manager could call you in the middle of the night and say, hey, what's your referral approach? And you know it. Or if any of you do fear and shows, you can just roll off any of your approach for your past customers, your new customers. It rolls off of your tongue. And even then, you're still learning, right? Because in vector, things change, things get better. So understand where you're at in your learning. Now, the only way to really implement this stuff and really take it with you every day for the rest of your life, this is how big this is. These are really simple concepts, but this is how big this is. This is the only reason why I've grown so fast, because I am a master's student and I work so hard to learn. I work harder on myself than I do at my job. And that's something that I'm really proud of. And so I won't spend a lot of time on that, but this is actually how you're going to continue to master 3 things. Repetition, study, and discipline. Repetition, study, and discipline. Repetition, study, and discipline. That's the only way that you learn anything. Understand where you're at in your learning. Put it in your schedule. The only way it's going to happen is if it's in your schedule. Would you guys agree? Yes. The only way it happens is if it's in your schedule. So put it in your schedule. And another note on that, when it comes to scheduling stuff, like phone calls, things that maybe aren't super fun to you, or studying, or things that you feel like you have to do, not that you choose to do. When you put it in your schedule and it doesn't happen, I would challenge you to question your integrity. I'm going to say that again. When you put something in your schedule and it doesn't happen, I would challenge you to question your integrity. Your schedule is a direct reflection of your integrity. If you tell yourself that you're going to do something and it doesn't happen, how can anybody trust your word? How can you say that you have integrity with your word if you can't follow through on something that you're asking yourself to do? Because when you put that in your schedule, you knew it was a smart idea. And then when you got to the moment, you felt tired, right? There's a lot in that. So that's a quote that I always have in the forefront of my mind that Peter taught me a long time ago. Your schedule is a direct reflection of your integrity. So schedule it. Repetition. For me, on my way to our biggest event, every single time, no matter what, I'm listening to my audios. And I have Curtis. I have 2 approaches from Curtis that I listen to every single day, no matter what. This has been going on for maybe, 2 months now. And it gets to the point where I'm not repeating it as I'm listening to it, but it gets to the point where as I'm talking to my customers, I'm like, wow, that was totally Curtis just flowed through me. That felt like magic almost. I just knew it because subconsciously my mind just kind of knew what to say. And that's the power in repetition and studying and taking the time out to do that. Now there's another, and obviously it takes discipline, right? You guys got to do it. You just got to do it. Another thing I wanted to mention is a really valuable way to learn. I know it's fairly simple to, as you're going to the office, as you're going to an appointment, to listen to an audio or a podcast, etc. There's a lot of studies that show that when you learn something in 20-minute increments, that's how you really soak something in. That's the best time space that your brain has to really soak information is in 20-minute increments. If you listen to something for an hour, let's say, it's really easy for your mind to drift and not really soak in and be present with what you're learning. So I'd encourage you to, when you do put learning time in your schedule, put 20 minutes. Maybe let's say that let's say instead of, for me, since I take 1 day out of personal development, for people who ask me about that stuff, I say start with like an hour of personal development each week. And ask yourself what's more important to you in your business and your life that you're going to study and master. And make 20-minute increments. So for 20 minutes, I'm going to read my approach, and then I'm going to take a snack. For another 20 minutes, I'm going to read this book. And then for 5 minutes, I'm going to dance in my bathroom. For 20 minutes, I'm going to do this and then take a break. So 20-minute increments is the best way for your brain to actually like learn and retrieve information. And that's something that I didn't know until I realized that like after 35 minutes of listening to something, it's so easy to get distracted by like our thoughts. So just something to think about. Now the biggest secret is that there's no secret. And there's not a lot of secrets, but there's a few basic concepts, like in the workshops that you're gonna learn from today, there's a few basic concepts. And the major key is to master the basics. The major key is to master the basics. The only way to master the basics is to focus on your next step. The only way to master the basics is to understand where you're at in your learning. The only way to master the basics is to understand what your teachability index is. Whether you're a 4, a 6, an 8, a 9, and understand, you guys, let's say you're at an 8 right now, and I'll just say this again because it's so true. The minute that you say, I get it, you go from an 8 to a 2. You're constantly learning. So humble yourself and understand that you can learn from everybody in this room. I can learn from everybody in this room. And understand where you're at in your learning. The next one, you're gonna like this. Oh. You're gonna like it, I promise. What do I do? Okay, don't look. You guys, you get paid to learn. I'll say that again, you get paid to learn. Every time you do an appointment, you get paid to learn. So understand that the more that you, just do it! Stop procrastinating! Just do it! I don't know how he says it. I listened to it this morning to kind of like get ready for this slide. Just do it! Just do it, you guys. Now, in all seriousness, like totally, just do it. Like, there's no secrets to success. There's no secret to learning something. There's no secrets. It's just a matter of action. So I encourage you guys to leave this conference being action-focused, not results-focused. Be action-focused, not results-focused. Ask yourself after every talk, like, what's the action I'm going to take away? And I encourage you to don't try to be a master at everything. Don't try to learn everything at one time, but try to become the master one thing at a time. Master one thing at a time. Ask yourself, I'm going to ask you right now, what is the most important area of your business you want to learn? And I want you to write it down right now, please. The most important area of the business that you want to learn. And before you leave this conference or this room, however your urgency is, I would encourage you to ask your manager, who do you know is the best at this? How can you get me in contact with this person? And have the cojones to ask. We all have them. Well, just do it. So I encourage you guys to really think about what is your teachability index, how teachable are you right now? What are you willing to give up to learn what's necessary to actually do something with this opportunity? And understand that the only difference between you guys and me and everybody in this room is time. That's it, and what we did with that time. It took me 1.5 years to sell 17 grand my first year. I didn't do much with my time. And I learned really quickly through mentors and through really applying myself that if I were to invest the time, money, and energy, I could really improve my results. So I'll leave you with that, you guys. Be action-focused. Understand that what is possible for you is more than you know. I don't know if you heard me. What's possible for you is more than you know. And I challenge you to become a master student and ask yourself where you're at in your teachability index and how you can grow that. And really quick, before I get off, I'm gonna give you like a really quick little tool to increase your teachability index. 2 things. Well, number 1, expose yourself to people who have what you want through conversations, messages, and there's 3 things that does. It increases your belief of what's possible for you. It increases the belief in the value of what you can learn from them, so your teachability index goes up. And it immediately increases your desire. If you don't know what your desire is, you guys, find someone who has something close to like what your desire is. And just by exposing yourself to somebody who has what you want, your teachability index goes up. Because you know that because I'm human and you're human, I can copy that and I can do what you did if I do exactly what you did. So find someone who you can bring in your front row of your life that has what you want. Latch on, humble yourself to understand that there's so much more to learn and you're still getting it, and be action focused and crush this freaking summer. Woo! And crush this freaking year. Okay, one last thing. I know you want to take me out. I don't usually do this, but I'm going to. You guys probably have questions like, what the hell are all these big words? Oops, sorry. What are all these big words or whatever? I don't know, whatever questions you have. So I'm going to give you my email. I was thinking about this, like, should I? The thing is, like, when I do give my email to people at talks, like, even the size of this room is bigger, maybe 2 people reach out, which is cool, it's great. Like, they do it, and I give them my goods. I encourage you to ask yourself, what's your teachability index? What questions do you have? I'm open to you. I really want to give back. So write it down. Ready? SHARISSA dot I'm sorry. Yeah, that's fine. My personal email. .SOSA@gmail.com. Sharissa.sosa@gmail.com. So any questions you have, or feel free to pull me aside. I'm totally down to, like, you can pick my brain, ask me anything. If you don't get a chance to, then reach out to me through email. So grateful to be here with you guys. Thank you for your time.
Yeah! What a great way to start this event. Okay, so if you're over 20,000, all DMs and BMs, and everyone over $20,000 in sales, stand up and go to the conference room right across the hall. So DMs, BMs, everybody over $20,000 in sales, stand up and go to the conference room right across the hall. You have 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so everybody that is here right now in the under $20,000 breakout session, do me a favor and stand up real quick. Don't move, just stand up. I mean, I guess move to stand up, but don't move from your seat. And I want you to turn to the person to your right, and I want you to say, are you so excited to be here? Because I'm so excited to be here. And then go to the person on your left and say, this is the best event ever. And now I want you to jump 3 times from where you are. Go do it, 1, 2, 3. And then I want you to put your hands in the air like this. And then I want you to bend down, and I want you to stretch. And then I want you to come back up, and then I want you to go to the right, and then go to the left, and then go to the right again, and then to the left again, and then shake it out, shake your body, shake it all out. And then Patricia, the music real quick, hit something. Ready? Hit it, DJ. Now dance it out a second, dance it out. All right, now sit down, Now I want you to look at where you're sitting right now, and do me a favor. Raise your hand if there's an empty seat in front of you. And then I want you to point at that seat. Okay, point at the empty seat in front of you. You guys have empty seats in front of you. Point at it. Point at the empty seat. And then I want you to go to the seat that you pointed at and sit there. Okay? So fill in the empty seats. Ready? You have 10 seconds to fill it in. 10, 9, 8, 7, fill them in. Stand up and fill in the seats. All right, how many of you here want to learn how to close like a champion? All right, forget it. We're not having this talk. Who wants to learn how to close like a champion? Raise your hand. I will. I have the privilege of bringing up our first speaker of the breakout, Mr. Mike Lanzetta. He'll always make it sell better. He started in May of 2001. He's been a top-level assistant manager and sales manager and district office manager, division office manager, and Cutco sales professional since 2008. He's a Hall of Fame member in Cutco. He's over $1 million in career sales. His main role is the division office coach. He coaches top managers and CSPs all over the nation. He sold everybody, listen to this, $134,000 while in 29 days in 2014, and still finished number 9 in the number 9 level 2 CSP nationally. So while it takes some people to sell $134,000 in 1 year, he said, hey, I'm going to do it in 29 days, and I'm still going to be number 9 in the nation, so suck it. So last year, he did $100,000 in 17 days, and this year, in 8 days, he's at 52 grand. 2 days less than a fast start, he's at 52 grand. If there's anybody that knows how to close like a champion in a short amount of time, in a long amount of time, whatever, it's Mr. Mike Lanzetta. So let's give him a round of applause.